A very good morning to you wherever you're watching us from. This is KUTV, Elimu Live, and you are right in time for a history lesson. And today we are going to focus on a Form 1 topic that is very interesting. That is the social, economic, and political organization of Kenyan societies in the 19th century. The social, economic, and political organization of Kenyan societies in the 19th century. We shall be delving into that in a short while, but to the students who are following us, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, and even Form 4s, there could be those who are at home. I have a gift for you here. This is an excellent book, Achievers, History and Government. It has been authored by Edwin Okoth Ogada and Musa Manono. It is a revision book, and you can see it is quite heavy, and it is loaded with a lot of good content that can enable you to do well in history. So this book, I'm going to give it to a student who is going to participate today in the show. So if you're going to be very active, you're sending us a text message, you are asking questions, you are sending us your comments, your compliments, this book, you're going to get it. So that is the criteria. I repeat, we're going to give it to a student who is going to participate actively on today's show. So ensure you grab it. It is quite expensive, so you'll be lucky to get it if you're going to participate well on this particular show. We welcome your comments, your questions. The number will be scrolling down on your screen. Now today, as I said, I'm going to focus on the socio-economic and political organization of Kenyan societies in the 19th century. My name is Teacher Jasper. I'm a teacher at Light Academy, Karen. I'm also an examiner of history, paper 1. And I'm also an author of a book, Smart Grades in History. So we delve right into today's topic, where we're going to look at three areas: the social, the economic, and the political organization of Kenyan societies in the 19th century. There were various societies, and our time is quite brief. We might not have an opportunity to look at every community, but we're going to focus on on one community. That is the Bantus. And the Bantus, we're going to look at the Ameru, the Akamba, Agikuyu, as well as the Abagusi. Now, this particular topic is examined in History Paper 1. To the students who are in Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3, right now you don't know which topic is tested in which paper. When you talk about History Paper 1, and the code of History Paper 1 is 311.1. 311.1 tests Kenyan history. So anything related to Kenyan history, you'll find it in 311.1. And then we have 311.2. This one is History Paper 2. And History Paper 2 deals with topics that are not related to Kenya or do not affect Kenya. So this particular question or this topic here, you'll find it in History Paper 1, especially question 18. And this particular topic is examined almost all the time, save for a few years that this particular topic has not been tested. For example, last year it was not tested, and we shall be able to look at other years that this particular question has been tested and how was it tested and what are the current trends. This question nowadays is tested in a very new manner, so I'm going to help you understand that. So we get right into it, the socio-economic and political organization of Kenyan societies in the 19th century. So at the end of the topic, dear learner at home, you must be able to understand the social. When we talk about the social organization, this basically deals with the way of life of people. It is about the culture of the people, way of life, socially, way of life of the people. Then we have the economic aspect, the economic organization. In this particular case, it basically deals with the various ways, various means that were used by the people in the 19th century to earn a living. right now, I mean, people go to work, some are teachers, some are doctors, some are lawyers, and that is how they earn their living. But in the 19th century, we didn't have lawyers, we didn't have pilots. So people had various ways that they were using to earn a living, they were using to sustain themselves. So we shall be looking at what are some of these activities that the people were using to sustain themselves. And then we have the last one here is the political organization. Political organization basically deals with the leadership. How did the people rule themselves? What type of government did they use? So that is the political organization. So these are the three aspects that we are going to dissect in today's lesson. And we're going to begin with one community here. I said we're going to look at the Bantus, the Bantus. And we know that the Bantus are classified into various communities. So we are going to start with Agikuyu. We're going to start with Agikuyu. And Agikuyu, we're going to use the three dimensions: social, economic, and political organization. Now, when you look at the social organization of Agikuyu, or when you find this kind of question, and you ask, describe the social organization of the Abagusi, of the Agikuyu, of the Ameru, the first point that should hit you in your head, it is the organization, the smallest unit in that particular community. So you'll be able to write your point here. The Agikuyu, the family was the basic social unit. The family was the basic social unit headed by the father. The family was the basic social unit headed by the father. Of course, today we have families that are headed by mothers. But in the 19th century, the person who was tasked with the responsibility of the family was the father. He was the provider. He was the chief disciplinarian. He was the one protecting that particular family. So in this particular point, the family was the basic social unit headed by the father. In an exam situation, you already have your 2 marks. So you can see how it is quite simple. The family was the basic social unit headed by the father. And then the second point that, dear learner, you are supposed to give is to say that many related families formed a clan. Many related families formed a clan, or you can say that they lived in clans. And when we talk about clans, these are people who have the same ancestry. So in this particular case, dear learner, you still have your 2 points. So from that particular question, or from this particular discussion, you already have your 2 points. And you can see I am not numbering my work. In exam, we usually tell the learners, do not number your work, do not use hyphens. You know, there are some students you'll find they will start their point by using a star, or you find them using such kind of dots. That one we do not encourage. Ensure that you write your responses in paragraphs, just like the way I'm doing here. So many families, many related families formed a clan. And then you'll talk about circumcision. The circumcised boys. The circumcised boys and conducted clitoridectomy for girls. Look at this particular point here. They circumcised boys, and then the girls underwent what we call clitoridectomy. So that is, you can talk about initiation in general, that they circumcised both boys and girls. So in this particular case, you already have your 2 marks. So in total, you have your 6 marks for that particular case. And then another crucial point that you should not forget is you'll say they believed in the existence, they believed in the existence, they believed in the existence of a supreme being. They believed in the existence of a supreme being whom they called Ngai. They believed in the existence of a supreme being whom they called Ngai. Every African community believed in the existence of a supreme being. So among the Agikuyu, they called their god Ngai. So this point here, they believed in the existence of a supreme being called Ngai. You already have your 2 marks. So as you can see, learners from 1, from 2, from 3, and from 4, this is a very simple question because, I mean, it's about culture. They believe. As you can see, this is quite simple for you to get marks in the exam. That is why I usually encourage my students that when you see this question in an exam, rush to attempt it because it is very easy to get marks in the exam. And then another one is they had special people. They had special people. And when you talk about special people in the social organization of communities, this will refer to people like the medicine men, whom they called Mundu Ago. The medicine men, diviners, rainmakers, etc. So these people were considered to be special in the community because of their roles. For example, the medicine men were the ones treating sick people. The diviners, they could be able to foretell. They could be able to foretell the future. They could be able to remove harm that was inflicted among the people. We are the rainmakers, people who could make rain. So these were very special people in the community. So you already have your 2 marks. And when you talk about they had special people, it is quite vital for you to mention the examples. Medicine men, diviners, and rainmakers as well. And then also another crucial point here is marriage. Marriage was significant. Marriage was significant, and it was exogamous. Marriage was significant, and it was exogamous. When you talk about exogamous marriage, we mean that people were not allowed to marry from their own clans. They were required to marry from other clans. So some students get confused with this word, exogamous. Marriage was significant. In the African community, marriage was very significant. In my community where I come from, it was almost forbidden, or it was very evil for a woman to leave her marriage and go back to their parents' home. That was highly discouraged. But nowadays, you can see a small conflict in a family, and then the lady gets upset and says, I'm going home, carries the bags and her bags and goes home. But in the 19th century, people could persevere. They could be beaten up and every kind of evil could be meted on them, but they could still stick in that marriage compared to today. So marriage was very significant because marriage was the basis of the family. This is where the continuation of the clan was actually taking place, and then it was exogamous. Of course, polygamy was highly respected. The more wives you had, the more you were treated with a lot of privileges. And then they believed in ancestral spirits. They believed in ancestral spirits. They believed in ancestral spirits. They believed in ancestral spirits whom they offered sacrifices to. They believed in ancestral spirits whom they offered sacrifices to. I mean, the current generation might not understand this issue about ancestral spirits. But when I was growing up, I really saw this where before people ate, They could pour libation. For example, if you were taking some porridge, some uji, the first thing you are supposed to do is to spill some of that porridge to the ground so that the ancestors can enjoy that porridge before you take it. That is what we refer to as taking libation. Or when a person had been buried, the people were supposed to slaughter. They were supposed to slaughter an animal in order to appease the ancestors. Or when someone had committed a crime like incest. Incest is having sexual relations with someone whom you are closely related. If someone committed that kind of offense, then that person offended the ancestral spirits. And people were required to slaughter some animals like goats in order to massage the ego of those particular ancestral spirits. So they believed in ancestral spirits. I don't know if, today with the advent of Christianity and Islam, people do not believe in the existence of ancestral spirits. But in the 19th century, they believed in ancestral spirits. They offered libations. They gave sacrifices to these particular spirits in order for them to be nice to them. And then other points include that there was division of labor. When you talk about division of labor, we refer to the boys having specific roles, like herding the cattle in the fields, like building houses. And then on the other side, we had girls. Girls were expected, for example, to be cooking for the boys at home. Of course, today things have changed, whereby women are in the office working. Women are doing some of the jobs that men I used to do. But in the 19th century, we had very clear demarcation of roles where boys were doing some masculine jobs and then the girls were doing feminine jobs. And then lastly is that they had sacred places. They had sacred places. They had sacred places where they were conducting their worship. For example, we are talking about the Agikuyu. The Mugumo tree was a very sacred tree. This is whereby people went to offer their sacrifices to. If you've read the river Between, there is a mention of the Mugumo tree where people used to go there and offer sacrifices in order to appease the gods. So as you can see, we already have, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We already have 7 points for you to write in the exam. So each point here carries 2 marks. So the way these particular points are, they are complete points. In other words, you get your 2 marks. A reminder, we have an excellent book here. It is called Achievers History and Government. This book has been written by experienced examiners. I know Mr. Ogada is a teacher at Alliance Boys High School. He's an experienced examiner. And this particular book goes to a student who will participate actively in today's show. And my director tells me there is a student who is really sending a lot of questions. I'll be able to answer those particular questions. So keep on sending your questions. A student who will ask most questions, most contributions, you will get this particular book at the end of this particular show. So that is the social organization of the Agikuyu. Now we go to the economic organization. And dear Lana, I said that when we talk about the economic organization, these were some of the activities that the people were using for them to earn a living, for them to get some income. And I've said, for example, today there are various ways that people get income. There are those who do white-collar jobs. There are those who do blue-collar jobs. So in the 19th century, the Agikuyu had their means of getting a living. The first one is they practiced crop growing. They practiced growing. Sorry for that. They practiced crop growing, such as millet, sorghum. These were planted in the 19th century. And then they also practiced livestock keeping. They kept livestock such as sheep, such as goats, such as cows. And then they also practiced iron working. This means that they made some tools out of iron. And these particular tools, they even traded them with their neighbors, such as jembes. These were made out of iron. And that is why when you talk about the Bantus and agriculture, the Bantus did well in agriculture because they made tools out of iron. And then I had hinted to this one earlier on. They conducted barter trade with their neighbors, such as the Maasai. The Maasai could have given them, cattle, as the Agikuyu also exchanged with other items like grains. And then they also practiced hunting and gathering. And then lastly is they practiced basketry. They practiced basketry. When we talk about basketry, this is the making of baskets. We also have pottery. Pottery was basically making of pots. So that is the economic organization is quite very simple. I mean, economic activities, you can easily even be able to enumerate them. Talk about trade, talk about keeping livestock, talk about growing crops, talk about iron smelting, as well as hunting and gathering. Now we go to another significant area. That is the third dimension here. It is the political organization of the Agikuyu. The political organization of the Agikuyu. How were these people organized in the 19th century? The political organization of the Agikuyu. The political organization of the Agikuyu. The first point that you write in the exam when you see this kind of question, apart from smiling, because this is a very simple question, the first point that you will be able to write is that they had a decentralized system of government. They had a decentralized system of government. They had a decentralized system of government. When you talk about a decentralized system of government, my dear learner and viewer at home, we refer to a system where power is not concentrated at one place. The opposite of a decentralized system of government is a centralized system of government. In a centralized system of government, power is concentrated at one place. For example, in Kenya we had the Wanga. The Wanga had a king, and that particular king had a lot of powers. But in a decentralized system of government, we refer to a place where power is scattered. For example, the Council of Elders. Each clan among the Agikuyu, each clan had its own Council of Elders. And therefore, we didn't have a central, we didn't have a central system where power was concentrated. So that is what we mean by a decentralized system of government. That power is not concentrated at one place, but in centralized system, power is concentrated in one place. Very few individuals, they make decisions on behalf of the community. So that's the first point. They had a decentralized system of government. And then another point is that they lived in clans. With each clan having a spokesperson. Each clan having a spokesperson who was called Mudhamaki. And the function of Mudhamaki was, for example, when two different clans had conflict, then they will be able to have Mudhamaki. They'll be able to have Mudhamaki from the other clan to be able to meet the other clan so that they could be able to solve their conflict. And then they were ruled by Council of Elders. They were ruled by Council of Elders who were known as Kiama. They were ruled by Council of Elders. They were ruled by a council of elders. They were ruled by a council of elders called Kiama. They were ruled by a council of elders called Kiama. And the council of elders had various responsibilities. Again, I'd like to refer to the River Between. Those of you who have read the River Between by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, there is a place where there is the mention of Kiama, whereby this protagonist in the novel by the name Waiyaki, after he was, he had an affair with Nyambura, Waiyaki was taken to the council of elders. That was to determine his fate. That is the end of the novel. We don't know what happened to Waiyaki. So the council of elders had various responsibilities or had various functions. Number one is they settled disputes. The council of elders settled disputes. The council of elders settled disputes. They maintained law and order. That is the same point, maintained law and order. Because you maintain law and order where there are conflicts. So they settled disputes or maintained law and order. And also they made laws for the community. They made laws for the community. The third point here is they punished lawbreakers. They punished lawbreakers in the community. People, for example, young people who are having incest, they were punished by the council of elders, the Kiama. They also declared war and peace against other communities, for example, the Maasai. So it was the responsibility of the council of elders to start a fight, just like the president of a country can declare war against another country. So this was the responsibility of the council of elders to declare war against another community and also to declare peace in another community. And then most importantly here is that they presided over religious ceremonies. In this particular case, we are talking about marriage. This was conducted by the council of elders. I think some years ago, you saw how the council of elders were conducting the Agikuyu traditional marriage. That was when the Kirinyaga governor, Anne Waiguru, was wedding Kamodho Waiganjo. And you saw the elders performing various rites. So this was one of the functions of the council of elders. So that is basically it. And some students, they make a mistake when explaining the political organization of the Agikuyu. Where I find a student who has not been reading because of one reason or the other, or because she has been receiving love letters and she has not read, then she finds this question in the exam. Describe the political organization of the Agikuyu. Point 1, they had the council of elders that maintained law and order. Point 2, they had the council of elders that blessed warriors to and from war. Number 3, the elders made laws. In such a case, you'll only get 2 marks because you've only mentioned the council of elders. So some students make a mistake where they explain the functions of the council of elders, and then that is it. No, you're supposed to give a variety of points. So that is the political organization of the Agikuyu. Now we focus on another community. Another Bantu community, and that is the Ameru. We're also going to look at the 3 dimensions: the social aspect, the economic aspect, as well as the political organization. In fact, when I will be able to finish on the Ameru, we have another community here, which is the Abagusi and the Akamba as well. Some of these points are quite repetitive. If you just master, for example, the social organization of the Agikuyu, you can be able to use that particular approach on these other communities. You don't have to be sweating, when you get this question. You are supposed to be quite happy. A reminder to our viewers, we have a book here. We have an excellent book. Perhaps here I can see the camera guy is focusing on it. Achievers, History and Government, KCSE Revision, Quick Points and Model Examination Papers. This is a very good book. I've gone through it. So this book is going to be given to the student who participates actively in today's lesson. Unajua kuna wanafunzi wamekaa kwa kona wataki kuuliza maswali. You're not going to get this particular book. You're going to get it if you're going to participate actively in this particular show. So far, we have a couple of students. About 500 of them have already sent their responses. So we shall be able to give you this particular book. I'm very sure that once you get this book, then you will get a straight A in history. Now, we go to the Ameru. This is another Bantu community. And first, we begin with the first dimension, as I said, the social organization. And perhaps a recap, we said that the social organization, this basically deals with the culture, the way of life of the people. The first point, you remember the first point we gave when you talk about the Agikuyu? The family was the basic social unit. So this is kind of a repetition. The family was the basic social unit. The family was the basic social unit. Headed by the father. Headed by the father. The family was the basic social unit, headed by the father, who was the provider and also who was the disciplinarian. And I said that, in today's setup, we have mothers who are responsible for families, who are head of families, especially today when we have high levels of separation. So the family was the basic social unit, headed by the father. They lived in clans. They lived in clans. And we talked about, when we talked about clans, we referred to people who have a common ancestor. And then another point that you give here, this is a repetition that marriage was very significant or important. Marriage was very significant. Marriage was very significant, and it was exogamous. Marriage was very important, and it was exogamous. When I was talking about the Agikuyu, I did explain the meaning of exogamous. So this is a question that I'm posing to you, dear learners at home. What do we mean by, in this case, we talk about the noun exogamy. What do we mean by exogamy? Can you send us that particular response via the number that will be scrolling down on your screen? When you talk about exogamy, what do we mean? I did explain that in our previous community that we were looking at. And then they initiated both boys and girls. They initiated both boys and girls. And we said that girls underwent clitoridectomy. They initiated both boys and girls. And then after circumcision, the boys formed an age set. After circumcision, the boys formed an age set. And right now we do not circumcise girls as a result of the advent of Christianity. But some students, you'll find them asking, why were the elders in the 19th century, they were circumcising the girls? The reason as to why the elders were circumcising girls in the 19th century, it was to be able to, limit their pleasure, especially. It is assumed that by cutting the clitoris, then it was a way of ensuring that the girls could not be able to practice sexual behaviors before getting married. So that was basically it. Kata hiyo clitoris, so that these particular girls could not be able to start enjoying sex at an early age before marriage. So they initiated both boys and girls. That is the age set. How many minutes remaining so that I can be able to? All right, thank you. So that is, they initiated both boys and girls, and then boys formed the age set where they were taught about community values, community cultures, etc. And then among the Ameru, they had something that was quite, they had a practice that was quite interesting. This is after marriage. After marriage, a woman looked for an elderly lady who would be her midwife, and a farmer could give her gifts oftenly. That means that when one got married, she was required to look for a midwife. A midwife is a lady or a person who helps in giving birth, enabling the woman to give birth. So it was the responsibility of this particular woman to look for a person to who could have enabled her to deliver, and then she was required to be giving her gifts oftenly in order to continue making her happy. And then another point is that they believed in a supreme being. They believed in a supreme being, and among the Ameru, they called him Baba Weto. Baba Weto among the Ameru. And then just like any other African community, they believed in the existence of ancestral spirits. They believed in the existence of ancestral spirits. Another point here is that they gave sacrifices, and like they gave sacrifices and offerings to God in case of calamity, in case of thanking God. They used to offer sacrifices just like most African communities. And then they also had special people. They had special people, and I gave examples of special people when you were looking at the Agikuyu. So can you send us examples of special people in the Ameru community? In the Agikuyu community, we gave. In the Agikuyu community, we talk about. We talk about the medicine men, diviners, magicians. We also talk about rainmakers. These were special people among the Agikuyu. So can you send us some examples of special people among the Ameru? And then we also look at other aspects that there was also division of labor, where men had responsibilities of, for example, herding cattle. On the other side, women had responsibilities, for example, of constructing houses. So we look at the second last part, that is the economic organization. And I said economic organization is about, sorry for that, the economic organization is about ways that were used by the Ameru to earn a living, to sustain themselves. Just like the Agikuyu who cultivated their land, the Ameru also cultivated their land, and they grew crops such as millet and sorghum. And also they kept livestock, sheep, goats, cows, among other animals. They also traded with their neighbors like the Agikuyu. They traded with their neighbors like the Agikuyu. And like other Bantu communities, they practiced iron smelting. That is, they made tools from iron. And also, they also practiced hunting and gathering. They practiced hunting and gathering. And then they also practiced craftsmanship. When you talk about craftsmanship, we refer to pottery, we refer to basketry, among other works. So we wind up by looking at the political organization of the Ameru now. We look at the political organization, and when you hear political, that is to do with leadership. That is to do with government. And when you talk about the Ameru, what comes in mind is Njuri Ncheke. What comes in mind is Njuri Ncheke. That is the council of elders. So number one is the first point is they had a decentralized system of government. they had a decentralized system of government, just like other Bantu communities, a decentralized system of government. As you can see, this is basically repetition. So once you get the point of one community correct, then you can be able to apply on these other communities. And then, sorry for this. Yeah, all right. They had a council of elders. They had a council of elders. They had a council of elders by the name Njuri Ncheke that was responsible for settling conflicts in the community, blessing warriors, among other functions that we gave in the Agikuyu community. And then they had warriors. They had warriors that defended the community against external attacks. Or they had an age set that defended the community against external attacks. And then the last point here is that their system of government alternated between two organizations, namely Kiruga and Entiba, every 14 years, and each had its own army regiment. That means that, for example, if it is Kiruga that is ruling, after 14 years, Entiba is going to get in. Now, to make the topic quite simpler, with that introduction now, if I tell you discuss the social or explain the social organization of the Abagusi, it is going to be very simple because you already know the social organization of the Agikuyu, you already know the social organization of the Agikuyu. So for you, it is just to make an application. Again, a reminder, we have a great book here. It is Achievers. It is called Achievers. It is a heavy book. It has very good content in it. I've gone through it, and I can recommend it to you. A student at home, you are in Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, and Form 4. You don't have to be in Form 4 for you to buy these nice books. Preparations for KCSE begin in Form 1. So if you get this particular book, it will be of great help to you. And the criteria of giving it out is a student who participates very well today. I can see there is a student by the name Brian. Brian has asked several questions. And perhaps if you ask more questions than Brian, you will be able to get this particular book. Now, so the socio-economic and political organization of Kenya started in the 19th century. I want to take you to KCSE 2018. KCSE 2018. Question 19A. Let's go to 19B. 19B says, describe 5 aspects of the social organization of the Agikuyu in the 19th century. Describe 5 aspects of the social organization of the Agikuyu in the 19th century. And then you have your 10 marks. So you can see that the setting has changed. Now, previously, you could be told, describe the social organization of the Agikuyu. But in the current setting, you'll be limited. For example, you have been told, describe 5 aspects of the social organization of the Agikuyu. When you see this question, don't panic. Oh, aspects, all that is. No. The same points that we gave here today are the same points that you're going to give in an exam. We also look at another KCSE paper. KCSE paper, this is in 2017. 2017, question, where is this? Yeah, question 18B. Describe the political organization of the Akamba during the pre-colonial period. Describe the political organization of the Akamba during the pre-colonial period. And then we also have another question here, which is also good for you to know. This is a KCSE 2011. KCSE 2011 question 18B. Question 18B. Describe the social organization of the Maasai during the pre-colonial period. So when you see this question in an exam, most students attempt this particular question and tend to do well in this particular question because it is very easy to get marks in this question. So once you see this question, you should start smiling because that is a very simple question and it is very easy for you to get marks compared to other topics. In a nutshell or in summary, when you've been told to explain the social organization, Then there is also the economic organization. Then we have the political organization. The political organization. Now, I'm giving you one of the easiest routes that you can be able to use to get marks. Once you've been told, where is this? All right. Once you've been told about the social aspect, the first point that should come in when you've been given any community, because in this particular topic, there are Bantus, there are Nilotes, there are Cushites. The first point you're supposed to give is talk about the family. Say, the family was the basic social unit. The family was the basic social unit headed by the father. You already have your 2 marks. Then the second point, allow me to number because of clarity. The second point, you talk about the supreme being. They believed in a supreme being. They believed in a supreme being called, now you'll be able to put the name. If you've been told about the Abagusi, you'll talk about Enkoro. If you've been told about the Luo, you'll talk about Nyasai. Then the third one here, they initiated both boys and girls. They initiated both boys and girls. They initiated both boys and girls. You already have your 2 marks from that particular perspective. And then number 4, you'll talk about ancestral spirits. Every African community believed in ancestral spirits. So they believed in ancestral spirits. They believed in ancestral spirits. So you already have your 8 marks without even sweating. That is why I'm saying this is a very easy question for you to do in an exam, and this will enable you get an A in history. Then also number 5, they had special people. They had special people. They had special people. Then in this case, you will be able to give examples of medicine men. You give examples of magicians, rainmakers, diviners. You'll be able to give, then in that point. Then number 6, you'll talk about marriage. In every African community, marriage was very crucial. So you'll talk about that marriage was very important, and it was exogamous. So most of these particular points apply to almost all communities. There could be some variations, especially the Cushitic communities. But if you give these points among the Bantus, you'd be able to get your marks. So these are 6 points. You already have your 12 marks without even sweating. Now, when you talk about the economic organization or the economic activities, number 1, the first point we'll talk about, if it is among the Bantus, then you'll talk about crop cultivation. Then number 2, livestock keeping. And of course, in an exam scenario, you are expected to give an example. Livestock keeping, example, sheep, goats as well. Then number 3, the Bantus practiced iron smelting. Practiced iron smelting. Then number 4, you'll talk about trade. Number 5, you'll talk about cattle rustling. Cattle raiding, not rustling. Cattle raiding. They practiced cattle raiding. Cattle rustling happens today, and it is a crime. But in the 19th century, this was an economic activity. People raiding each other cattle. Then others, craftsmanship. And under craftsmanship, we refer to pottery, making of baskets, that is basketry, among others. And then we also have the political organization. The political organization, when you have this particular question of any community, what are some of those points that apply to almost all communities? Number 1, you talk about they had a decentralized system of government. It is only the Wanga that had a centralized system of government. They had a decentralized system of government, and we said decentralized means power is not concentrated at one place or at the center. Then number 2, talk about the council of elders. Talk about the council of elders, and also highlight their functions. Highlight their function. You can mention one function or two, but do not give you do not give 5 functions here and then you say, that exam was very simple. No. You're supposed to give a variety of points, not only referring to the council of elders. And then also number 3, talk about the age set system. Age set which protected the community against external attacks. The age set system that protected the community against external attacks. Now, there is a place where some learners get confused. Now, when you're talking about the age set, in the social organization, you will say, after initiation, the boys formed an age set. But in the political, when you're talking about the political organization, then you should be able to say, when you talk about the age set, you must link it to protecting the community. They acted as warriors. So in this particular political organization, if a student says that after circumcision, boys formed an age set, and then you stop there, you will score 0. You must make it political, and the way to make it political, it is for you to relate it to protecting the community. And also now, there are other individual characteristics which apply to certain communities. For example, among the Maasai, you have the Laiboni or Oloibon. Among the Nandi, you have the Orkoyot, and also some age sets among the Nandi. So you already have your 6 points without struggling. And then now, and then you'll be able to see that other points will come depending on the community. I'm not urging students to be lazy, that now when they don't read any community. No, this is supposed to make you, this is just like a compass to you. Now, I had requested students to send in their questions, and let me go through the questions here. There are quite many. I cannot be able to read and answer all of them. This one is Gracious from Udhiru. What is the function of Orikoyot? Thank you for keeping us busy, KUTV. We totally appreciate for recognizing our efforts. When we talk about Orikoyot, this was both a political and a social leader among the Nandi. And the functions were basically social. For example, he was leading ceremonies in the Nandi community. Then the second response, that he was involved in blessing warriors to and from wars. He also solved interterritorial disputes or interclan disputes. If 2 clans had conflicts, then they could go to Orikoyot to solve those particular disputes. And he was also a rainmaker. Then this one, Gracious, asks another question. What is the duty of medicine men among the Akamba? These were people who are treating people who are ill in the society. Teacher, it's purity from Sukimau. Is it right to include the family as a basic unit in both social or political? When describing also during an exam setup, is it necessary to include the communion names like the Council of Elders? I usually tell learners, for example, the Council of Elders among the Ameru is Njuri Ncheke. If you're doing an exam, especially among the Akamba have the junior elders, the middle elders, the full elders, and then there is the senior elders. If you cannot be able to remember those names in an exam, don't write the vernacular names. Just write in English, and you shall be able to score those particular marks. This one asks, is there a difference between initiation and circumcision? Now, circumcision is an aspect of initiation. For example, among the Luo, we had the removal of teeth. That is not circumcision. That is just initiation. So initiation can take various forms. One of them is circumcision. This one is asking a very interesting questions. those special men, like diviners, I mean special men, of course, like diviners, do they exist nowadays? Those people are still there in some communities. They still treat people. I can say my time is almost up, and your questions are quite many. Let me just finish in a short while here. Is the traditional marriage exist up to now? Yeah, people still do conduct traditional marriages. All right, Gracious is very active on sending the messages. Did Ameru have a decentralized system of government? Yes, the Ameru had a decentralized system of government. My director can be able to tell me when I'm supposed to leave the stage. All right. We would like to recognize some students who are contributing. Jacob Chalo, you've really contributed a lot. Purity from Siokimau, we also recognize your efforts, and also Gracious from Udhiru. These particular students have participated actively in today's lesson, and I trust that when they're going to do their exams, they are going to score an A in history, because doing well in a subject begins with the passion. So that is where we stop for today's lesson. My name is Teacher Jasper, a teacher at Light Academy. Karen, bye-bye. You'll be able to follow more programs next week. So thank you so much, and I wish you a blessed day.